Hello, my fellow adventurers. I'm currently writing you this letter as I lie in my bright yellow hammock swinging between two acacia trees, watching the African sunset in the distance. You may be wondering how I came to find myself in the beautiful country of Zimbabwe. A few weeks ago, during my time in South Africa, I jumped on a tour bus where I was lucky enough to meet the wonderful Dube family. After having spent only a few hours together, they very kindly invited me to join them on their road trip back home to Zimbabwe. Now, imagine this: 2 adults, 2 children, 3 enormous suitcases, and a big-bellied bear squeezed in between. The road trip took us 2 full days of driving, zigzagging through the roads that curved, climbed, dipped, and went bumpety-bump for miles and miles. At one point, we hit so many potholes that I was almost certain we were going to shoot straight through the roof as our bodies flung uncontrollably up and down and left to right. Next to me sat a little boy by the name of Chatunga. He is only 10 years old and seems quite small for his age, yet when I think of him now, I see a little warrior, fearless and full of courage. Chatunga was always encouraging me to be brave and try new things, and boy, oh boy, was I glad that he did. Chatunga also introduced me to the Big Five during our road trip. This is a famous group of animals which is made up of the elephant, rhino, lion, leopard, and buffalo. At first I was terrified, and every time I saw one I would start shaking hysterically and hide in the car. Chatunga explained that these animals are just like me, and that I had nothing to fear. Best I get used to African wildlife. There was no escaping it here. After an extremely long but exciting journey from the bottom of Africa up to Zimbabwe, we eventually made our way toward the Dube family village. I had my head hanging out the window, with my eyes growing to the size of soccer balls as I took in the sights around me. Everything looked so different here. Elephants roamed alongside the road, cows were being used to pull carts, and children were running about barefoot or carrying large buckets of water, which they were balancing on their heads. After 30 hours of driving and 30 hours of Chatunga chattering away non-stop, the car slowly came to a halt. We had arrived. I looked around in astonishment. Is this their home? I thought to myself. Chatunga turned to me, grabbed my hand for reassurance, and softly said, "We live differently out here, don't we, Mr. Bear?" Their home was made of mud and straw, with no doors and no windows. Where were the toilets, the bedrooms, the kitchens, the gardens? Everything was so simple, and yet the warmth and kindness of the people made it instantly feel like home. We spent that night singing, dancing, and sharing stories around the campfire. I tried many traditional dishes, including sadza, maize meal that looks a bit like mashed potato, peanuts, yellow watermelon, and you won't believe me, friends, but worms. Everyone sat watching as I attempted to eat one. At first, I just couldn't bring myself to do it. My whole body would squirm as though I too was a wriggly worm. The next moment, I heard Chatunga's voice. "Come on, Mr. Bear, you can do it." And so I searched for all the courage I could find and quietly whispered to myself, "I'm brave like Chatunga. I'm brave like Chatunga." I squeezed my eyes closed, threw it in my mouth, took a big crunchy bite and gulped it down as quickly as possible. Everyone was cheering. I had done it, and dare I say, it was delicious. The next morning, I woke up to Chatunga tugging at my back legs. "Come on, Mr. Bear, we have some exploring to do. I'm going to show you one of the 7 wonders of the world. All we have to do is follow the sound of the water. Can you hear it?" We set off as the sun was rising, and before we knew it, we found ourselves deep inside a magnificent rainforest, crawling under thick thorny bushes and hopping over massive fallen trees. I could now feel the water, let alone hear it. "Chatunga!" I shouted. "It's starting to rain. Should we head back?" Chatunga laughed. "It's not raining, Mr. Bear. Come, look here." As I followed him around the muddy corner and up a small rock, there, right in front of me, stood something I could only describe as out of this world. The spray of the water was now so big that my fur coat was completely drenched. We were standing in front of one of the world's largest waterfalls, the beautiful Victoria Falls. "Are you ready for some fun, Mr. Bear?" shouted Chatunga. Oh dear, I thought, as if we hadn't done enough exploring already. That afternoon we joined a group of tourists on a White River rafting experience with a local tour guide leading the group. After running through an extensive list of instructions on how to paddle the boat through the fast-flowing water, he handed us each a wooden paddle and asked us to jump aboard the tiny, bright orange rubber boat. The water was coming at us from every direction, almost as though we were at sea. The boat even tipped us all out at one point, and Chatunga and all my new friends had to pull me back into the raft, as my short, bare arms were too weak from all the paddling. Not my proudest moment. After losing one paddle, one shoe, and nearly losing my trusty brown hat to the rapids, our team eventually made it to the lazy river. This is a stretch of water where you can jump out of the boat and float on your back, taking in the Victoria Falls that are coming down right next to you. It was a magnificent sight, and one I will never forget. I was so thankful for my experience in Zimbabwe, but I was even more thankful for having met Chatunga. He taught me what it felt like to be brave and have courage, and how you can only experience things if you try. I plan to carry Chatunga's passion for adventure wherever I go. And so, my fellow adventurers, this brings me back to where this letter began, writing to you under a beautiful acacia tree. The sun has now set, and I'm staring at the beautiful Milky Way up above. Perhaps these stars will help guide me to my next destination. Where to next? Warmest furry wishes, Brian the Brave. P.S. Now that I've seen some exotic wildlife, I need to learn how to blend in. Can you help me complete this month's secret mission on the Kids Collab portal? Thanks.